Hi there. Yesterday we were talking about crisis and the definition of crisis and the changes that happens in life that can put ourselves in crisis. What happens to us when we are in crisis, when this change is happening? We all react differently. During my seminars, when I teach groups, I usually start by asking people what the first words that they think of is when they hear the word crisis. And most of the time, the words that I hear are that people are starting to name off crisis reactions: anger, depression, fear, social phobia, isolation, wanting to flee and escape from the situation. A lot of things that could be interpreted as symptoms. It's not unusual when people are in a crisis that they rush off to the doctor's office because they feel depressed. They don't recognize themselves and they feel like this very strong feeling of despair is taking over them. And what happens is that most of the time, at least in Europe where I live, and I know it's the same in most Western countries, is that those people are being prescribed antidepressant medication. But is that what we need when we are in acute crisis? It's not uncommon that people start to feel anxious and feel anxiety. If you look back a couple of clips, you can hear a story from when I met a woman in the grocery store who had a panic attack because she's in crisis. This quarantine was getting to her. We all react very differently. There's no one way to react in a crisis. Some people, they cry and they become devastated. Other people get angry and they get a very short fuse. I belong to those people that when I feel that I can't control things, when I'm in crisis, when I don't recognize myself and others or the situation that I'm in, I get angry. And I know that that is a normal crisis reaction for me. Other people, when they're in crisis, they become extremely efficient. They start thinking about what to do. They start thinking about, we have to take care of this, we have to solve this, and they become hyperactive almost in trying to find solutions. That's also a crisis reaction. Other people, if you listen to a woman that is now dead, her name was Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She said that it's very common when people are in crisis and when people are grieving that they go into denial, that we want to pretend like this is not happening. And for some people, that is a very normal crisis reaction. And we see it around us. Some people now, they want to pretend that this is not happening. They want to go on with their lives as if nothing has happened. And many times they also think that other people that do react are exaggerating. Then we have another group that I don't want to miss out of that have a crisis reaction, that is a crisis reaction that we oftentimes don't think of as a crisis reaction. And that are people that become numb, or people that feel like, I wish I could react, but I can't. They feel nothing. I'll never forget the man that came to my office for counseling. His daughter had just killed herself. And he was sitting there, and I asked him, how are you doing? And he just stared out in space and he said, well, when God gave out emotions, he forgot me. And he felt so guilty for not being able to feel. He was surrounded by people that had very strong reactions, and he felt like there's something wrong with me. And I asked him, you know what? I said, in life, when you are through changes or where something happens, are you normally a person that is very expressive? And he said, no. And I said to him, well, you know what? Maybe your grieving, maybe your crisis reaction is to not react. Maybe you react with your thoughts. Maybe it's a cognitive process for you rather than an emotional. And what I did was just put him at rest with that it's all right for you to be who you are. crisis reactions come in so many different shapes and in so many different ways. And the important thing is to realize that we're all different, to stop comparing each other to one another, or to think that a person should react the way I do. We are all different, and it's important to realize that. A lot of times people get scared of mental health issues when they are in acute crisis, because it's very common that we get symptoms that look like a sign of mental health issues. But if you have anxiety or feeling panic attacks because you're in an acute crisis, that does not mean that you have a diagnosis and have a generalized anxiety disorder or anything like that. You're just reacting according to who you are. The same thing with depression and feeling down. For some people, this is normal. That does not mean that you have a clinical depression that needs to be treated. So we are all different, and let's celebrate that, and let's say that we are all allowed to feel and react the way that we do. Crisis reactions, they come in all different colors and shapes, and we just need to respect one another's reactions. Have a brilliant day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.